So it depends what labels you give to certain things, yes?
Yeah.
Your own individual label is something completely different to anybody else's label that is out there, okay? Especially in a world that's so sealed off from truths, I guess, could be the only way to explain that. So do you notice that you can walk around most of your life labeling something that you have, but when you try to reach out to people,
Mm-hmm.
if there's a large amount of secrecy around it,
Yeah.
then the chances are most people are going to label it with something else. So if you ask a doctor, which I did do, it was many, many years ago, and before that I was speaking to someone called Cecil.
Mm-hmm.
This was back in, I was in Thetford at the time. Gee me, this was such a while ago. And when talking to Cecil, because of his background with a Methodist church,
Mm-hmm.
he gave this a different label.
Yeah.
And then a little time after that, so then we moved and life got pretty traumatic. It's almost interesting to me that every time I walk this path, very bad things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when I mean bad things, I mean man-made things, man-created
Yeah.
things. So again, it could just be coincidence, but hey, we live in a world of coincidences, don't we? And I don't buy into coincidences. I buy into things that are usually men do. Do you get what I mean? So I was talking with this to Cecil. Now, I'm not sure what happened in care or different things like that, but my nan said something interesting to me. She's not my real nan, but I know no different. She used to say that you scared us as kids.
Yeah.
When you were kids,
Mm-hmm.
you scared us
Mm-hmm.
with some of the things you would come out with.
Mm-hmm.
And how I've only got. She was very vague about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's no blood relative, but I was brought up to know no different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, she kind of took my mom in.
Mm.
So that's only based on there from what they were saying, but it didn't go any further, and I was too young to pick the conversation a bit further, which is meh. And things transpired, and then I spoke with someone called Cecil about this, just in brief, different labels, trying to explain something to someone, and it's almost like he understood it, but he labeled it from a religious standpoint, and a particular door opened up for me in this area.
Mm-hmm.
Although I was too young to understand what was being said, and then going to the church and different things, it was more. It was a little bit more different than learning sermons and stuff like that, and a little bit of Sunday school, Thursday club, and anything else in between. This was with someone called Cecil, and then the more you sort of open up a little bit more, but not everyone understands, and I guess it's probably because it's surrounded in secrecy.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go further back than that, it would be Egypt.
Yeah.
The Egyptians understood this very well,
Mm-hmm.
and many cultures and different groups understood certain pieces of puzzles. It's programmed reality.
Yeah.
Only for those that dare to venture and seek it, and some will try and harness this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost the test.
Mm-hmm.
Will you harness, or will you let it free? And there's the difference. That's a do with it what you will. So one particular individual would label it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's when we have moved, and then there was all of that situation with the neighbor and different things like that, and all transpired, and that rainstorm leaves you thinking for a bit. But again, something that walks with you for most of your life and has never deserted you, and has always kept you paying attention to individuals in the world.
Yeah.
It's never led you astray, and the only time things have gone awry is when you don't listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's your choice.
Yeah.
And it helps you to pay attention to these individuals in much more of a different light, shall we say. And it steers you in the right direction. And most of the time we're infiltrated with manipulation, which would be that people use this sort of blame a voice, blame this, blame a presence. I was possessed. I was this. if any of that was really true, then you'd all be smoking sage, wouldn't you? Not burning it, you'd be smoking it. No evil spirit is going to get into me, I can tell you that for sure. Right, do you understand the sort of joke connotation to that? So then moving house, and then I'm going to say first relationship where it all kind of went a bit fuck up there as well.
Yeah.
Again, I was speaking to a doctor about it, and they give it a different label entirely.
Yeah.
Actually, the doctor was kind of a bit different in this aspect. It was more, if I was you, I wouldn't bring that up. You're going to get yourself into all sorts of nasty trouble. You probably don't want to venture down that road. I would keep that under your hat. And I'm doing you a favor, I'm not going to log it. Okay, and then after this particular cottage hospital caught fire, and I think there was a fire there, horrendous fire. And then a little bit after that, that's then when the relationship thing, and then I was in court and different things like that transpired after that. So again, getting a little bit closer, but trying to find out what this is. And it seems like anytime I opened up to certain people give it a label. And then rainstorms would happen. And this is not rainstorms because frickin' universe is... Because why would it tell me to be on my guard, right? You will understand what I mean by what. And then a doctor would label this something completely different, and scare tactic, right? You could be labeled as crazy and all of this sort of, yeah, right, you get what I mean. And then if I was you, I'd keep that. Am I getting close to the truth that you know a truth of something, but you're gonna disguise it as this? And then I got a situation where I'm dealing with this situation, and then just sort of leave it for a bit. I don't leave it. I leave it physically, but not quantumly, yes? And then I dive more into quantum and begin to understand and pick apart things and move around with stuff. I'm very, very exploring as a kid. Whether it's got any point to this, it really doesn't. But, type of kid that was sticking lots of things into batteries, into frickin' handheld fans that used to be the hard plastic, and overdosing it with batteries to the point that it makes a, oh, that's too many. Now to give me. Wow, that's pretty impressive. And then I can cut grass with it, and then people are coming out like it's for my own safety type thing. I managed to cut the whole grass with a frickin' handheld fan. Some interesting stuff. And then what happens if I put it into an aeroplane? Pot made out of polystyrene and stuff, rudders and different things like that, and being able to make it go and bye-bye to the fan. Well, that lasted long. And then it buggers off. And obsessed with things flying as well, and different things like this. So I was very inquisitive as a lad, let's say the least. Others would be in their groups and cliques and different things like that, and I would be throwing freaking protractors around, fascinated with the way that they spiral in the wind, and when the wind takes them, they'd rise up, or have a remote control car and convert it into a boat, and have a remote control aeroplane, couldn't afford the radio gear, and then make that power a caravan lid / which was boat. It floated. I was fascinated with things that floated, flies, and the way the wind would catch objects, certain objects, and other objects it wouldn't. I actually got speaking to someone else who was just as loner as me. And they were studying me throwing this. And they had a big one, and set squares and different things like that. Just the way in certain conditions of wind, the way this thing would just, and sometimes boomerang. It's fascinated with it. Just the dynamics of this, why it did it, and how it does it, and then you learn onto the way it comes down to the ground. Anyway, this particular girl had seen me doing this, and she wasn't particularly social herself, but we found socialness in this sort of moment. She was observing me sort of throwing this, and then got a bit as fascinated as I did. And that was quite a parallel moment, I guess, in my younger life, And yes, again, what about this? If you throw this, you couldn't throw it very well, but she was very much into a bit more mathematics, very young age, but still very interested in a different dynamic to what I was interested in, more physical. She might not have been good at physical, but could calculate why and this, and then she would research into other things. It was a very fascinating time, to be honest. You find a parallel.
Yeah.
And just moving on from things like this, just fascinated with the way things did things, and then it leads you on to understand that every time the rain falls, it compacts ground.
Mm-hmm.
You might think that one raindrop here, it's just an inconvenience to you, but actually it's compacting the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's also eroding, and this repeated process, although seems very little, begins to impact the ground, and then the weight of water, and then it falling from the sky in little bits. It's a different form of micrometeorites
It is,
on the
isn't
planet.
it?
So fascinated with this, and then it leads on to other things. What happens if there's a hailstones, and then it happens with this and that, and compact the forest down. If you remove a lot of the forest, you compact the soil down, and the roots find it hard to bed in, and they've evolved. So they've evolved from where? Pine. Pine must have fallen a lot of it, and then bark begins to break apart, and new life species can grow in this softness, and more bark in here, and this allows for the forests, and the ones that, if you see the ones that we saw recently, self-sacrificing. They grow very small, get a little bit of life, fall down, rot away, and this layer by layer by layer then causes the stronger and stronger trees to be able to take root, and very interesting thing. And then it stops the rain from compacting.
Yeah.
And the carbon that's stored within the tree that deliberately falls into the ground, which then goes on to become the waste product, which is soil and different things like that, and then it puts the carbon into the roots, and it's a fascinating process for me. How it makes do, and it's not fizzy rain. Yeah, what a world. Carbon world. If it did rain on Mars, it'd be fizzy, right?
Yeah.
Oof, that would be nice. I wouldn't mind drinking that. I would formulate from that. And it makes me think about Mars, and Mars is popped core, and if it did have oceans in, as such as individuals say, then Mars popping its core out, if it had water, that water fell into that gap. You've seen it with sinkholes.
Yeah.
I've played in a lot of sinkholes. This is where I had the caravan lid. I've taken you to it, haven't I?
Yeah, you showed me.
And using a remote control airplane to sticks in the beginning,
Yeah.
like some sort of canoeist,
Yeah.
if that's even a word.
Yeah.
It is now. And maneuvering on that, and being on it for so long, and then I was fascinated with the way it floated. Two, how much weight it could take before it even sank, and it didn't sink. Three was the pressure. It had a very small hole in it, which I blocked with a candle, and a little bit later epoxy resin. Man, the funny thing is, when you got a lot of weight on it, the candle popped out with such a force. That was interesting. And then it gets you fascinated with tides and the way the tide rises.
Yeah.
That if you could utilize this, that fresh water floats on salt water plus a few air pockets, that you could lift a large vat of water, that then you could get it to run into another container. You could probably get some energy from this, and then when that one's exhausted and the tide drops down, you can pop this into another, and then the other one rises up, and then same back into the other way. You walk this process. It's slow, but you've got enough beach to do it. Lots of this going on, small amount of power adds up to a large amount. You just got to start with small and build up, but this is the way it is, isn't it? So little bits of power here and there might not be great, but large processes like this give you an awful amount of power. Power in the universe is one of the main fundamental laws, if you like. Energy. It's everywhere. And lots of different things like this. And static. Friction. Having two objects orbit one another, one slightly bigger than the other, and stretch and squeeze the metal in between. Could you make it hot enough so that then if you keep it orbiting in a certain way, you can stretch and squeeze this metal in the middle, that it gets it hot. If it gets hot enough, it then creates a magnetic field. And if it does create a magnetic field, if you bring the object a little bit closer and have multiple objects around it rather than just the one, and this object is multiple objects of different sizes, it's going to squeeze it in multiple different ways. Especially when it becomes molten. Can you make that hot enough to then begin to glow? And if you can, does nature grow off of it? Then if you do, space travel is easy. You move your own stuff. Stretch, squeeze and stretch. And
I see.
and plus you're doubled up with a magnetic field as well. As simple as that. Just look at the planet and the moon and Jupiter and the more moons you have versus whatever that core is made from, mimic the process with a spacecraft. You should have infinite power. Food source, purification of water. Moving the water in itself in order to purify it generates energy that you can hit into a turbine, condense it, collect it condensed, and run it back through the system again. Some of it will move closer to it, the hotter object, and push away from the hotter object, and you capture this energy. You've got electricity. Self-fulfilling prophecy, because you're generating the energy in this geode, and then you encase this whole overall structure. A very interesting thing. So there's multiple ways to make energy. There's just, where do you rest on it? Anyone thinks it's a hard life that leads you to these types of things, but actually in the most play and excitement is where you learn the most, and also I can learn the most in the most difficult situations. It's reciprocal in either end of the spectrum. Energy's energy, friction's friction, so it doesn't matter whether it's one way or the other, but most people believe, and they like to think that there's this whole tragic, oh my god, so bad life, hard life, genius type bollocks. Because it makes a good sob story, doesn't it? That's what it boils down to, and no one wants to hear a fucking genius that went through all of this sort of, because we're conditioned. No one wants to hear the beautifulness. They want to hear this tragic story of falling down, and they turn their life around. Because movies tell us to. You get what I mean? In that sort of way. So we often build in this swamp with a belief system. Much like it with our parents, if they're cheating or doing anything else around us, but not telling kids, right? Because the kids are too young to understand, and we must play normal.
Yeah.
But yet each parent is passively aggressive towards one another and setting one up to fall because they're trying to get them back, because there was perhaps some cheating going on, but you cheated, but I cheated, but they cheated, but then I cheated, but then you cheated, and then I did. And this is not done in front of the kids, but this behavior is around the kids. And the kids are impressionable and they believe that this is normal. Doesn't just work with kings, it works all the way across the spectrum. And then if you've got kids growing up into this dynamic, they believe that this type of thing is normal, and it sets them up for the highest fall, because A, they're either going to find someone who has lived the same life as them in this environment that they like or know as nostalgic, as childhood, as memories and different things like that, the dysfunction that's classed as normal, normalized dysfunction. And they never look at it as perhaps mum and dad were cheating and pissed off with one another, and they kept, sort of digging at each other in a way, and the kids grow up that this is normal, and perhaps mum sets up dad and then sort of jabs him all the way down and kicks the chair out from underneath him, and dad does the same to mum, and there's this little bitchy get me back type of crap that goes on, and kids that form in that, because we stay together for the children, right? It's just kind of counterproductive in a way. Because the kids don't know what's going on, so they take that behavior as all normal, and then they grow up with this nostalgic, want to find what home was and recreate home without any cheating. They're creating this environment without realizing it, because it's so embedded, because they've never stepped away from the pot. That's home. That's life. That was Christmas. That was birthday. That was everyday living, right? Do you get what I mean? And they might then find someone who is a cheater to create that atmosphere, or they will find someone who has been in the same dysfunction and come together, and then they're passively, aggressively, and this becomes normal. Well, it probably makes great for fines and good for courts, and it keeps them swamped and shit overworked and underpaid and all the rest of it, and then you've got to sort out all these issues, which is neither one of the faults. But yet, if you look backwards at your life and think, shit, were they doing that because they were doing that? Now, is this really normal? Do I have to, what else do you base this upon? You got to create something new. Also, you got to break your belief system, right? That was normality, but it's not normal. It's abnormal, but normal under the circumstances. And then you grow up being this way, and you might just look like an everyday bastard, but are you? And then are you this type of person, or have you been taught to be this way? It's a very interesting thing, right? So, then it goes on a little further. Who do you have around you? The more famous you get, the more inspirational you get. I heard a story once, a guy won the lottery, and I heard from somebody else's perspective in this, and someone else's perspective who got close to this person. I never did, but still they got close to this person, and when the money was there, they were close. When the money was gone, they're no longer close. And it's a very interesting thing. And then you can see individuals that want to buy stories off of these individuals that were around this individual in order to take the understanding from this individual from third person perspective and maybe get a little closer to this individual. And yet the process goes on and on and on. This individual just wants all of that information so that they can dress it up in all of this sort of stuff, label it as person A, person B, and then they make a title for themselves and a name for themselves, and then they pass on this information whilst cashing in off of these people who cashed in off of these people who were only around to use to get close to the power teat, if you like. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And I heard some information from this particular individual about the people that were around and what they were doing and how they would advise this person with the money who won the lottery to do this, do that, do this, do this, that, and everything else. And then there is quite a level of blame for the money situation, that it did this, it did that, it did this. But again, having people that were around you that were licking your ass, telling you all of the things that you needed to hear. And this group dynamic is very powerful, by the way, because when you're in it, if you're in that particular situation, one, who the hell do you trust? People that are telling you things that you want to hear, sounds all very nice in the moment, but perhaps you might, and then if there's people on the opposite side of that, they're telling you things that you don't want to hear. Now, is it about them wanting to jab you, or are they telling you it because it's truthful? I mean, it's a very difficult situation to be in, really, isn't it? Really, you got to have a lot of discernment in that, and a lot of wise wisdom. Don't sell your assets. Never sell your assets. I think this is true with the kingdom, right? The king's never sold his assets, has he? He's held on to them. Or the royal family have held on to their assets. What would that be? Gold, silver, and different things like that. Bars of gold, yeah? So they haven't sold their assets. But then when we look at the structures that have sold their assets, be it water companies, energy companies, and different things like that, you can see where it doesn't work. It doesn't pay to sell your assets. And if one would have kept these as kingdom assets, would they have ever been sold? Probably the answer would be no. Would they be misused? That's another question entirely.
That is.
But again, could there be someone then in that aspect that could get close to this group and convince them that they need to sell their assets? That's the thing. Or create situations that then cause them to be in a position where they've got to sell their assets. Dress it up like a Christmas tree, right? Make it all look pretty.
Yeah.
Cool, look, we have... might give you a bit of dodgy information. Oh, we was over there, we saw this. You might want to go over there and get this sort of stuff, and then depression, obsession, recession, and all the rest of the great, wonderful words in that. Oh, did you want to get into that because of this reason, or did you want to get into that because now it's easier for you to offer some money to then take the money in order to get out of a sticky situation, and then you put yourself further into a sticky situation? Are you infiltrated? Did someone come in and then want to sell those because that's the plan? That was the plan, to sell the assets so that then they could buy this to then knock you down? And you understand how it all goes. And then you wonder in this side, if it was kept here, would the assets have been sold? Probably not, because of the way you hold on to gold. But do you hold on to gold? No, you hold on to assets. Assets are more important than anything else, especially when we come in terms of farming, water, food, anything like that. Energy, these things are heavily relied upon these days. So, but, at the end of the day, you might be convinced to then dive into your pocket to spend this money or hoard it. Where do you sit in that? So someone is like, oh yeah, let's have a good idea. Let's spend all of this money on this, and no. Let's trial it with one thing. Let's trial it with one thing in one area, in one region, on one small budget. We don't break past the budget. If it don't work, we walk away. If it does, that should be the response that you need. That should be everything that tells you and the other individual that is helping guide you. I think we've seen this in society. And why am I talking about this? Because like Egypt, how did it fall? Taking shit advice from the wrong people. Be a good idea to do this, be a good idea to do that, be a good idea, and then you have advisors and different things like that. But are they advising you because they want to advise you, or are they telling you all the things you want to hear to stroke your ego?
Yeah, or to help themselves.
Well, it's to stroke your ego, and then when you've got an ego, it can be massaged, and therefore, once you're in that, you're hooked. People will see it. You like your ego massaged, and then they can then start to take your assets from you slowly but surely, erode you until collapse down. You see this with Rudolph, don't you? He was selling a lot of stuff, right? He got pretty broke, didn't he? Trying to make gold. gave away a lot of stuff, paid a lot of attention to individuals that were tricking him. This is a story that should be told. Alchemists, yes.
Yeah, and he was collecting some art, and who knows what was it was original and what was it was plagiarized or not real original.
But still, a lot of people were around him,
Yeah.
advising
Alchemists,
him
yeah,
in the
alchemists,
wrong
and
way.
yeah, and seeing into the crystal ball and stuff like that.
I
so-
don't think that came with saying, you are acting like an absolute twat.
Mm.
Wait, what did you say? Yes, it hurts, doesn't it? You're acting a twat. Why are you doing this? Oh, off with your head. Right, do you get what I mean? Yeah, and that is honest, but the group dynamic would be like, oh, I wouldn't be taking that if I were you. Oh, yeah, I definitely wouldn't be taking that. The same with this guy that won the lottery.
Yeah.
The group that were around him was so protective of their asset, being him,
Yeah.
that they held him in this state of suspension that if anybody came in and told the truth,
Yeah.
many voices around you.
Yeah.
It's about picking the right people. That is a definite. Were shooting it down, and you would be labelled as all sorts in this.
Yeah.
But it's just a general bit of advice: take it or leave it. But you are being a bastard. What should tell you in that is what should stroke your ego. Which ego is okay to have it massaged, but it's got to be done in the correct way. It's weird because it's also what you would do to spend that asset on what? Transform it into what? Well, build this. Does it begin to show results down the line? Painful in the beginning because you've got to let go of something in order to perhaps multiply what you've got.
Yeah.
The generations ahead will thank you, but the immediate generations that would be is how much more